Travelling Australia full-time can be incredible, but things can go wrong, and when they do, you need to have the tools to sort it all out. This video I'm going to show you what I carry, why I carry it, to give you an idea of what you may need to see this beautiful country of ours. Hi guys, I'm Grant from Live Like Kings. I've recently been asked by a bunch of you guys what equipment I carry to keep the show on the road. I'm still trying to work that out, to be honest with you, but I will show you what I've got, just to give you an idea if you're starting out, what to carry and what not to carry. So I'm, again, still trying to work that out, but I just don't like typing comments. It gets a little bit like, I don't know, I'm just not that good at it. So particularly things at length, I'd rather just do a short video. So let's get into that, eh? Okay, so here we have my first drawer. Now this is just the hands, like the hand tools and sockets, pry bars, all that sort of stuff. I keep a few spares, ratchet straps, tapes, drills and bits and bobs, and then a little tool kits. I quite like these, but I'll get into that in a second. An extra ball, but that's only because I have a boat and I tow a van and it's a bit of extra weight. So if you don't need to tow a boat, I wouldn't bother, but because it is pretty hefty actually. But really it's just because I've got the boat and the van has a DO35, which is like a pin, and I could probably save weight by putting a DO45 receiver, but that's going on a foldable trailer, so it doesn't really make much sense. Anyway, so that's what I've done. First thing, I would always carry extra tie down straps because you're always going to need them. And apart from these little turnbuckle straps, which are usually pretty loose and flapping around and getting in the way, these are quite good for just tying down small things. I usually have a lot of them just in all sorts of toolboxes and things like that, both on the truck and in the van, just because they're handy to have, just to tie up hoses and cables and whatever. But then having these ones, they're just for the boat. These ones in particular are for my boat motor. And to have a couple of the bigger ones, so they're like a 600 or 900 kilo one. That's not too bad. Just to have a few extra spare. As for the tools, I feel like there's tools for every other purpose and general tools that you'll use all the time. And they're the ones that I try to put in these tool bags. The tool bags themselves, these are pretty El Cheapo. I got off eBay years ago and the zippers are all busted. It's looking a bit worse for wear. I sort of have written on them what's in the pockets, and pertaining to that, I try to go through the truck and figure out what tools I need. So it's a kind of an annoying process when you're starting out, is that you got to work out what your vehicle requires and go from there. So I try to carry just the sockets, just the spanners, just the tools to work on my truck, just to save weight. I have gone away from that a little bit, and I'm carrying a little bit more than what I usually need. It does happen. We started out with a Land Cruiser and then we went to an F350. So I've still got some tools left over from my setup, my previous setup with the Land Cruiser. So I've got extra pliers, I've got extra. I've got a socket set, like a full socket set in the top pocket here. As you can see, the zippers are busted. It's not very good, but it still works. Like, I've got t-shirts with holes in them. I still wear them because it works. They still go on. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a full socket set in these pockets. I find these tool wraps pretty good because they sort of fold up and you just got these rolls. They don't take up too much space, whereas if you have a socket set, it's a whole hard case that you've got to stack, and then you've got screwdriver set, it's another case you've got to stack on top, and so on and so forth. So I find these quite good for travelling. They can wear out and the zippers aren't the best quality. You can find better quality tool wraps out there now, but that's what I had and that's what I've still got. So I haven't found anything just yet that I would go to, just because I've already got these. They're not great, but that's what I've got. So you've got just screwdrivers, ratchet spanners. I find ratchet spanners the way to go. Alright, so it's just reversible. They don't have the little switch at the end. They're not super fancy, but I've got metric and imperial just because that's what I had in the shed before I left. Now, ratchet spanners, what's this one? Ratchet spanners, Allen keys, pliers, screwdrivers and sockets. That's in one. The other one I have written shifters, so different size shifters. I usually run 3 or 4 different sizes just because they're handy to have and I already had them. Multi-grips, other screwdrivers, so they're usually like the really, really fine ones, or the things like the type that you'd use for electrical items that usually have the really fine screws and stuff. Long sockets. So my long sockets usually pertain to these sorts of things. And one that actually holds, so also got like a key socket for my wheel studs in that one. These for the real stubborn nuts that won't budge as well. That's going to happen, so it's probably wise to carry a set of these as well as long sockets and just normal sockets for, you know, easy to reach, non-fussy bolts. Your canopy, your shelves, your boat, whatever. Okay, so the 3 different types, just a regular set, long set, and I'm sure you guys will tell me, I actually don't know what they're called, but they're like a funny shape. They've got extra teeth in them, and then they just sort of grab a hold of the nut and they don't slip. And I find them quite good. Saves you stripping nuts and bolts. So I also carry drill bits, assorted sizes. They're my fine screwdrivers, which I absolutely forgot that I had. Would have come in handy yesterday, in fact. They're always handy to have because they're just little fittings inside the car, particularly the interior electrical boxes and things like that. They usually have fine Phillips head screws, like little tiny ones. I have a smaller socket set. I use this more than anything, particularly when it comes to like changing battery terminals and things like that. It's just easy, just grab it, go over there, do what you need to do, come back. And then just like a hex socket set, like so. That seems to work quite well. I've used that more times than I can count. Oh, that's a bit messy, but yeah, just extra like Phillips attachments and screwdriver attachments. Plenty of rags, so always carry plenty of rags. I've got extra tapes, so you want a good couple of Stanley knives. Now these tapes, these are pretty bloody good if you ask me, especially this stuff. So if you've never seen T-Rex tape before, this stuff is diabolical. It sticks like nothing else to anything and everything. They sell it to you like this so it won't stick to itself because you'll never get it off like normal tape. It's not cheap. Forget how much, but it's not cheap and you don't get much. So what I use this for is anything that's small, out of sight, that doesn't need to move ever. That's what I use for. If I've got a small leak on a bucket, like I've got one on my this one here, my little foldable bucket, got a little bit of a hole there, so I'll put some of that tape just over there or on the outside, right there. Problem solved. Not cheap. So there's like a Gorilla duct tape. That's almost as good as this stuff, but you get more of it. It's almost as good. It doesn't stick like this stuff does, but it's not bad. I've got a double-sided one here. Normal duct tape. And this clear Gorilla double-sided tape. This is something else too. Like, this is really good stuff. I've never had any problems with it. Obviously, always carry a can of this stuff. I never not carry that. Bit of extra marine grease for the boat. Okay, so then moving on. I only just started carrying one of these just because something broke recently. What was it? The hinge on the tunnel boot broke, and I needed to clamp the bottom part of it so that the elastic set. And yeah, I had that lying around the property, so I chucked it in, and also because I can. Now I carry this. I haven't used it as much as you'd think because I have a cordless angle grinder. So they're still handy to have. We're getting into the things that I've used a lot recently. Pry bars, a couple of different sizes. It just came in a set. I think there's actually 3 of them. So 3 different sizes. GT, that they just came in a set. I've used them to take the axle out because they can be quite stubborn, and they're a nifty little thing to have. An extendable sort of breaker bar. That's not too bad. It's not the best one on the market. I think it's only a super cheap one. But again, I had it and I've used it and it's worked. So I'll stick with it just for the lack of a better option. A torque wrench. If you don't have a torque wrench, put it on the list. You really need to know the torque settings on your studs, on all your studs, on the Caravan, on the wheels of the vehicle as well. So it pays to do that. So get yourself one of them and learn how to use it, learn how to reset it after every use or every other use. Caulking gun. You will eventually need to reseal or use silicone at some point on your Caravan, probably. Particularly if you have, like us, an older Caravan where leaks are inevitable. Sometimes, yeah, you might just add something. And yeah, hammer, shifter, decent size one. I've only got a small steel cent at the moment. You could do with a bigger size than that, but it's a 350/48. I don't know how I did it, but at some point I've accumulated 2 measuring tapes. I don't know why, but they're there. A couple of files, round files. I've got a finer one in here too, which I use for my chainsaw. Handy to have, use them a bit. Pot river gun. I've used that so often. I've used that an awful lot, and it's far better than the actual gun pot rivet. It's just so much easier. But again, take everything that I say with a grain of salt. It's just what I carry. There are better things on the market. A lot of people carry better stuff than I do, but this is just what I carry. So, pot river gun, tin snips, always a handy thing to have. Little blowtorch. Almost use that, particularly when we're traveling every day, almost every other day. It's just so much easier to start a campfire with and cook with, or if you need to heat up a stubborn bolt or something like that, then it needs to come out, you can do that. So it's always handy to have. I carry a tap key. Say what you will, they're handy to have, particularly if you have permission to use them, which is usually the case for me using mine. This here is like a hubcap or a grease cap resetting tool. A friend of mine, Stephen, gave it to me, a fellow Bushtracker owner. It's just a bit of pipe with a plate welded over the top. It's the right size for the grease cap. You put it over the top and you give it a good old whack with your hammer, and it goes on nice and evenly, and you don't do what I used to do and just destroy your grease caps by bashing it back on. It's a bit of a no-no. That is pretty much what I carry in this drawer, so let's move on to the next one. All right, so I also carry a fair suite of power tools. Good thing too that I've got a nice big drawer for it all, because there's a bit and it takes up a fair bit of space. Now the things that I carry, all these things I use every week, every day, almost every day for a lot of things. Now, why Ryobi? For me, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. I use them because wherever you seem to go around the country, there's a Bunnings. They have a pretty good warranty for all their skins and their batteries. If something goes wrong, it's just too easy to just go and change it over, and they're quite great about it. Case in point was my chainsaw. I had the 18 volt. It decided not to work after a spell, and I think I used it to help a friend out, and it died. I waited till we got to, I think, Mount Gambier, Bunnings, and I walked in there and said, "Mate, it's not working, what can I do?" He goes, "Yeah, just go pick up another one. Give me this, change over." Sweet, no dramas. So that's why I like Ryobi. They're not badly priced. They've got a good service and changeover sort of thing if something goes wrong. They have a good warranty as well, so that's just too good in my books. Now, quickly run through these. I carry a little 18 volt workshop blower. It's well used, as you can see, and this is one of my favorite things, and I've used so often. I'm kind of surprised that it's still working, to be honest with you, because I've used it that much. You can use it to sweep, you can use it to clean, you can use it to get a fire going, particularly like just cleaning dust off workable areas around the rig when you're traveling. It's priceless. So not particularly expensive, definitely worth putting in your kit. Just a drill, that's a given. Everyone has a drill. If you don't, you need to get one. This is fairly old now. I don't think they even have this model. It's actually not looking, it's still working. But it's looking a little bit rough, bit of rust and stuff, but it's still going strong. The skins are pretty bulletproof, but the batteries, these are all starting to die a little bit. But then again, they're 7, 8 years old now, so not bad, really. A work light. I actually don't mind this one. So you can fold that out. It's got a hook up here. Alright, so you can hang it off things. Done that a fair bit. You can activate both ends or one or the other. It's pretty good. I've used it countless times for all sorts of things, whether it's cooking or filming a cooking video, or if it's just illuminating any other type of video when we're sitting inside. I've used it for obviously working on the vehicles, camping, you name it. So that's definitely worthwhile getting. Next thing is a heat gun. Again, used it a lot. Good for wiring and electronical stuff. Not bad. You can have different attachments and things like that. So again, not expensive, definitely worthwhile having. I have my angle grinder. I had to actually convince Bianca, my wife, that I should get one. I think it was like the second week of traveling I used it, but I can't remember what I used it on. She was so glad that I had it. And then I just kept needing it for all sorts of different things. And yeah, awesome bit of kit. Rattle gun or torque wrench, what you want to call it. Again, it's pretty old. They don't use that shape anymore. It's still going strong. I use it just to I usually use a breaker bar and just to sort of break the thread on the studs first. And then I just so that this doesn't have to work quite so hard, because it's not super duper torquey, but it is good enough, definitely. I do rate it. I had an 18 volt chainsaw. It died. I changed it over, but I paid the little bit extra to get the 36 volt. This, I'm telling you, is my pride and joy. I absolutely love this 36 volt chainsaw. It absolutely chews. It is so good. I've got a 457, I think it is, Husqvarna petrol chainsaw, and I've been using it on the property. It's good, and it lasts longer. You can use it all day. You just chuck some more fuel in it, it's fine. But it doesn't bite as hard and as quick as that. This thing just chews. It's quiet. I'm not going deaf while I'm using it. I can sit here all day and just say how good it is. But the flaw is the batteries only last so long. You need multiple batteries, and these are not cheap for one that's traveling around. So you need, ideally, if you're going to be using it for work around a property and stuff, you want 2, 3, maybe 4 of these, just so you can cycle around and just keep going. But it is for what I use it for, to clear trees off a track, to get some firewood, it's overkill, sure, but when you need to do a little bit of work, boy, is it good. Yeah, I absolutely love it. So it's definitely worth the extra. I think it's like $200 difference between the 36 volt and the 18 volt. So In my opinion, money well spent, but if you're worried about space and weight, it's a smidge heavier than the 18 volt. Go the 18 volt, it'll do the job well. And the best part about it is that it's easy on the ears. It's very, very quiet. Anyway, let's move on because I'll just keep talking about it. I do have an impact driver as well. So it's like that, but smaller. And I just use that for driving in screws, for things like that. And I also use it to put in my pegs, my drillable pegs for the awning and tie down points and things like that. So, and I have a second drill that is used only for the legs on the Caravan. I bought 2 kits. So I bought this kit with that, and I bought another kit with another drill and an impact driver donkeys years ago. They're still working, and that's why I have 2 drills. But you don't need 2 drills. I'm just saying that I have them. So always carry a set of jumper leads. It's sort of a no-brainer. Get them as thick a gauged as you need for your vehicle. So this is technically a light truck. Everything's heavy duty, so it needs heavy duty cables. They're one of those things that you'd rather have and not need than need and not have. I feel that way about most of the tools on board, but not all of them is quite the case. You don't need one quite as big as this, but I have a grease gun. I like to get under the truck and make sure everything's greased. It almost always is, and I don't need to actually add, like I do like half a pump and go, ooh, nah, it's all good, don't need that, but it's good to check. In here, I have things like polishes, bit of Gorilla Glue, brake cleaner, greaser, lanolin spray.
Lanolin, like sheep's wool?
Bit of no more gaps. Just here is just like an air filter cleaner for the truck, now that it has an aftermarket cleaner. And just a bit of bar oil. So this is sort of my serviceable compartment. I use this just to carry chemical solvents, things like that, that I don't use that often. And if you don't have saddle boxes, it's sort of, you need to find a spot for them. You don't want to carry it inside your wagon or your drawers, or if you have a toolbox on your Caravan, then that's where you put them. But that's why they're down here, out of the way, because it does smell a bit in there, like just chemicals and the solvents and sprays and polishes and things like that I've got in there. There's also a bit of like truck wash and soaps and things like that, which I have more of in another compartment, so I'll show you. Alrighty, next up is a jack. Everyone needs a jack. I have a bottle jack, and it's an 8-ton bottle jack. It does the job. It's not perfect. I would love one of those off-road trolley jacks with the big wheels, and it's all heavy duty, but I just don't have anywhere to mount it properly out of the way and in a way that it will protect it for when I do need it. They are a bit big, so I've made a massive compromise, and I have simply gone an 8-ton bottle jack. Now this works really well. It's solid as. It's not particularly convenient because you have to get right up under there and find a spot for it and set it up properly, but it works really well, and I can use it all around the Caravan. My Caravan doesn't have high lift jack points, which I wish I had, but I don't. I don't even carry a high lift jack. Again, compromise. I'd love to. If you can, it's a good idea, but definitely a good jack. I would suggest to get a rated jack that is more than what you need, than what the vehicle that you are jacking up is weighing at. You know, my van sits at about just under 4 tonne, actually, 3.8, I think it's weighing at the moment. And an 8 tonne jack's going to do that quite well. For my money, I like to do over-engineer things as much as possible, have a higher tolerance for things, just for peace of mind. That's just how I work. This is sort of like the utility box. So it's got more truck wash and polishes and cleaners and solvents and things, and just stuff for my boat loader and boat prop. Just one of those boxes that's just sort of multi-purpose. These products, cleaning products, are to me just as important as your tools, because when you clean your rig, your caravan, your vehicle, you will see things that you may notice things because you're looking at it and you're trying to clean it. You're pulling things apart, and that's really, really important too. If you just stand back and hose it, you're not going to get in there and actually see if something's going wrong, if something's loose, if something's broken, if something's cracked. It's definitely worth having, I think, the energy and the time and the money to go out and buy these things, those cleaners, and take the time and clean your rig. Not that often, it's not that big of a deal, but you want to take care of the things that you've got, because they'll serve you well if you do. And definitely keep things clean, have a look at things while you're cleaning, and to me that's part of servicing your caravan and vehicle. So keep it clean, keep it safe. Another pretty important piece to the puzzle of living on road and keeping the rig on the go is a good air compressor. You can use it to run tools, you can use it to clean, you can use it to pump your tyres up. And to me, it's pretty vital. I have the twin cylinder ARB compressor. It works quite well, I find. It is a tad thirsty on the juice. You want to keep the car running while you use it, particularly if you're pumping up 4 35-inch tyres and 4 33-inch tyres on the caravan all in one hit. So you definitely want to keep the truck running for that. Now I have 2 lengths of hose, a digital gauge, and just a little deflator down there just in case. I believe that a good air compressor is vital. You have to have one. It doesn't need to be fixed like mine or a model like mine or even as big as mine. It really just needs to do the job. Cheap ones will do it for a while. You may not even be needing to deflate your tyres to go to remote places like I do, but at some point you may get a flat, you may get a puncture. That's another thing. Puncture repair kits. Please make sure you have one. It's peace of mind. They're easy to use. I can do a video on that later, but yeah, make sure you have an air compressor and a tyre puncture repair kit. One last thing before we go, I carry 2 toolboxes. One's for electrical, one's for what I call the bits and bobs. So just little inconsequential things that you may not ever need. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, there is no Bunnings, there's no Mitre 10. So you have to be kind of your own Bunnings or Mitre 10s. As you can see, I just carry some extra hose clamps. Always carry a sacrificial anode. Always carry one of these, because you might be in the middle of nowhere and it goes, or you might just go, oh, I haven't done that in a while, and then you check it and she's buggered. Extra hoses, fittings. I think I've got some door hinges for the Kamek doors. On that also, this is a door lock for a Kamek door. They're pretty much all the same. These break, so always carry a spare. I've been caught out once before and I had to break my way out of the caravan. Luckily Bianca was outside, it was all sweet, but they're only plastic, they will break eventually. So they can get a little bit stiff and hard to lock after a little while, and that's sort of telling you that, you know, eventually it's going to break because it's going to put stress on the actual handle for the outside. Yeah, definitely carry a spare. So an extra filter and hose for the diesel heater, plumbing stuff, all John Guest fittings and things like that. Most caravans use those and require those. Ooh, another door handle, sweet. Discovering things that I didn't know I had. These are old style window winders. Definitely handy to have. And just miscellaneous bits and bobs. Electrical, so I've got some shrink wrap there. Multimeter, definitely have one of them. If you have any problem with any electrical issue, batteries, wiring, whatever, one of these is an essential tool to try and problem solve. There are countless YouTube videos on how to work them and use them, so definitely look at some of those. I can't run through that today, otherwise we'll just run out of time. So we've just got extra cables, wires that I can cannibalize from other things, fuse blocks, fuses, plenty of solder as well. I've got a soldering iron down there somewhere. Soldering iron. So yeah, definitely worth having those toolboxes, depending on what you've got, depending on how old your van is and your rig is. You may not need all those things, you might. I have an older van. I feel like I kind of need those things just in case. I haven't yet, but I might. I also have the payload, so I can carry extra things like that too. So these are all the things you need to take into consideration. Take what I've said with a grain of salt. Lots of things may not apply to you. Most of the tools will, I think, though. I think I'm just sort of doing this as a bit of brain fuel for you, and just to sort of get you thinking what you might need and what direction I've taken. I do carry, sorry, before I move on, before I forget, I do have extra filters for the car, extra fan belt. That's pretty much all I do for spare parts for the vehicle. Spare parts for the van, pretty much all in the bits and bobs drawer. Anything else, apart from those things that I know that go or are known to break, then I just will find on the run, or if I need to, I'll leave the van, run into town, pick it up. I'm bound to find something somewhere. But those things that I know that break, I just carry with me. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there, guys. That's pretty much all I've got to show you in terms of tools. Hopefully this has helped you out or given you some sort of inspiration and a bit of guidance for your trip or your rig as well. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell for the next video. On that, just so that our regular viewers know, we are going to be traveling and hitting the road again in around a couple of months, so after Easter. So yeah, pretty excited to be hitting the road again. Slightly different mode of travel, just a bit slow now, nowhere near as fast as we were, but just exploring stuff and seeing more places in a small area. So looking forward to that and looking forward to showing you. Okay guys, see you in the next one.